What's up, guys? It's Break Shift, and I just hit Master Rank. If you're familiar with my channel, you might be a little surprised by that, because I primarily play weird, stupid, nonsense decks, and you wouldn't expect decks like that to end up that high on the ladder. This is, in fact, the first time I've ever done this, because I'm not that competitive. I've never tried to hit Master before. But it just kind of ended up happening this season, and so I thought I would take this opportunity to yap a little bit about some Yu-Gi-Oh! Philosophy, I guess we'll call it, and we'll take a look at the decks that I played to get there, and I've got a few replays as well for fun. So, first things first, this is the deck that got me most of the way. This Diabell Regenesis deck, now with a sizable Kashtira package, since our boy Fenrir is free. And this was the deck I was playing most of the season in Platinum with. Generally, I try to hang out in Platinum deliberately, because Platinum is kind of the fun zone. And once you rank out of Platinum, of course, you can't go back down. So if you want to spend most of your season in Platinum, you know, if you rank up next season, you'll go back down to Platinum again, but for the remainder of the season, you're stuck in Diamond. So when I start to get close to getting out of Platinum, I will start to play crappier and crappier decks in the hope that I'll lose more. I got up to the top of Platinum this time around, mostly playing Archmage and RB. But this was the worst deck that I hopped on to try and lose a bit more, and it didn't work. I continued to win, and I eventually, I couldn't bring myself just to literally throw the game and concede for no reason, so I ended up in Diamond. And there's a pretty significant difference, you'll notice, in what it feels like to play in Platinum and what it feels like to play in Diamond. In Platinum, things generally feel a lot more fun to me, because there are mostly two different kinds of players that you'll encounter in Platinum. There are players like me, who are competent and are playing bad or mediocre decks, and then there are players who are not particularly competent, but are playing very good decks. And if you're playing against someone who is on a bad deck and is competent like yourself, then that can be a lot of fun. You'll have a good back and forth match. Everything's a little bit more fair because you're not playing meta. And if you're playing someone who is on meta, well, if they were good, they'd probably be in Diamond or higher, so you can probably win by outplaying that person with your bad deck. And that's a lot of fun, too. But once you get to Diamond, then you're mostly going to be encountering competent players on meta decks, which will tend to blow out crappy decks like I usually play, or you'll be playing people who aren't particularly good but have some sort of auto-win something or another, either a giant combo they do that they memorized on turn one that wins the game instantly, or they're just gonna flip some floodgates on you or something of the sort. And that tends to be a lot less fun. So I think that Konami could definitely be doing a little bit more to expand the fun zone of Platinum, or have some other way that you could play more fun decks. But as it stands, once you're into Diamond, most of the fun is going to come to a stop. I continued to play this deck exactly. I didn't even switch over to back to RB or anything. I continued to play this deck in Diamond up until about Diamond 3, just to farm the gems while I was there before the season reset. And at that point, I shifted over to the Radiant Typhoon deck to just see if I could bother getting to Master at that point, at least get the frame. And I did, of course, so I'm going to pop over to the Radiant Typhoon deck in a moment to show you, but before that, I just wanted to briefly mention about this deck. I have seen people genuinely complaining about being stuck in Platinum or something, but I guess this can be proof to you that whatever deck you're playing, if it's even remotely competent, you can definitely get into Diamond with it. Maybe you need to reevaluate some of your tech choices, or just consider the kind of matchups you have at the moment, but it's definitely doable. You should be able to get probably even to about the middle of Diamond, even with something ridiculous and janky like this. I've covered this deck in more detail previously, so I'll link to that, but the only changes here are the 2 extra copies of Fenrir, and I don't think Jurai Shin was out when I did this deck originally, so he's in here too now. As for the Radiant Typhoon deck, it's mostly pretty standard, but the big notable omission here is that I'm not playing Super Polymerization or any runic cards, because I don't like them. And that's the other thing I would say too, is that even if you do want to play some more competitive strategies, you can definitely do it without playing unfair cards, right? Like, that's the only reason I'm not playing Super Polymerization is just because I think it's just not a good design. I think unrespondable, remove 2 cards off the opponent's side of the field is pretty cringe. I don't like it. The only card in this entire deck that I would say is even remotely unfair is, of course, this stupid bug that I hate, which, you know, I mean, you really can't justify not playing this card, but definitely do not need to play stuff like Super Poly. That's another thing a lot of people say a lot is, you know, oh, well, I have to play like this Floodgate card, or I have to, you know, play this stupid unfair board breaker or whatever, because the things these other decks are doing is too strong, and that's the only way I can stand a chance. And that's also definitely not true. You definitely can make it all the way even to Master, playing stuff that is fair. And I mean, the Radiant Typhoon is not even really particularly meta relevant at all right now. It's like maybe on the fringes of the meta, maybe it's a rogue deck, and especially one that's been further hampered like this. So the other thing I would say as like a sort of takeaway from this too is that it's good to explore the different sides of the game, right? Someone like myself is mostly playing janky, weird decks that I have built myself, but there's a lot you can gain from playing more meta-relevant decks, higher power decks, and something like this is obviously, there's not really any sauce here. This is not a creative brew. This is pretty standard Radiant Typhoon for the most part. But it's definitely worthwhile, especially if you want to further develop your understanding of the game as a whole, if you want to engage in discussions and stuff. Touching on the different aspects of the game is relevant. So if you're someone who likes to play things more casually like myself, give something competitive like this a try at some point. And I would definitely say vice versa as well. If you mostly like to play meta stuff, you should definitely try building your own janky deck sometimes. And try different play styles out too, right? Don't just play mid-range or control or combo. Mix it up a bit, you know? Anyway, let's look at some of the replays and see what the end of the climb was like. I didn't get any replays with the Regenesis deck. Like I said, I have a whole nother video talking about my Regenesis build. But I didn't realize I was going to be going all the way up to Master when I was playing the Regenesis deck. So instead, we'll just look at some of this Radiant Typhoon gameplay. Fuelos here, you're going to see him appearing a lot. One thing I really did not like about the games where I was playing Radiant Typhoon is just how relevant Fuelos and Sheena felt. Sheena's the generic 9 that if you control a wind and your opponent activates an effect, he summons himself, and then he bounces their monsters if they use the monster effect, or their spells if they used a spell effect. This guy. And the reason I didn't like that he and Fuelos felt so relevant is because these are not part of your archetype. You can't search them or anything. You just kind of have to hope you draw them, and they're just so impactful. When I was playing my Regenesis deck, it felt a lot more like cards like Regenesis Code or Diabell Star Vengeance were the really relevant ones, and I enjoyed that a lot more. It just feels a bit more random when you're relying on stuff like Fuelos. Anyway, the opponent here has got a really good opener, but I am drawing some cards. I choose to Ash him here. This is maybe a bit questionable, but if I let him get to the Cashier Trap card, then every time I activate Mandate, he's going to get to like rip cards out of my hand, and I might need to activate Mandate quite a few times. So I do Ash, even though it's going to trigger his Ogre, it's going to trigger his Unicorn. And he actually gets some really good hits here. His Ogre finds my only copy of Phonics, which is pretty important, and then he takes out my Typhon as well, which I might have needed. And of course, he also gets to do a Rise Heart attach, and he gets 2 more Zone Locks with the Shangri-Era. So that was a pretty costly Ash Blossom, but I was trying to plan for the longer-term game that I might need to get into here, and make sure that I wasn't just going to lose my entire hand to whatever the Kashtira trap is. I can't remember the name of it right now. But anyway, we used the second Ash Blossom here on the Shangri-Era. That was another part of why I used the other Ash earlier. I have 2 of them. I want to get value out of them. That means I need to spread them across 2 turns. And then I'm going to chain the MST on the back row. I know that's Macrocosmos. I would like to have access to my graveyard here. Taking some burn damage off of the Red Eyes. Doesn't really matter. We get to chain. Crocea still in the standby phase here. Crocea comes down. I'm going to get to activate her effect. And he immediately uses a Rise Heart. Even if he didn't, then he would still have to use the mandatory effect to attach. And I would have gotten a chance to hit him with the Sheena anyway. Stick him in the last free zone I have here. Bounce the whole board. And that pretty much does it here, actually. He didn't have anything else. He was totally vulnerable to the Sheena there. Gets to add back a card, but, you know, whatever. That doesn't matter. It's way too late for him here, and I can easily set up lethal. So, there you go, game against Kashtira. Like I was mentioning, you know, floodgates all over the place. When you have less skilled players, you can expect that they're either going to do a wombo combo or they're going to set up a floodgate. Also, of course, there's much less deck diversity in Diamond and above. On lower ranks, who knows what you're going to fight in Platinum, right? It could be anything. But pretty much as soon as I got up into Diamond, I started seeing a lot of the same stuff. A lot of K9, a lot of Exo-Sister, all that. Things from the new pack. Anyway, my Crocea gets Ghost Belled here. Pretty unfortunate that because a lot of these cards can add from grave, they're vulnerable to her. But my hand's quite good anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and link off into Varun here, get that trap card, very important. This deck doesn't really have any particular way to make use of a Fuelos when going first. You don't really have any easy discards for it or anything. You can normal summon it sometimes because you don't use your normal summon, but even then there's not really anything to do with it. Most of the time, the only extra deck summon you do is the Varun, and she needs 2 Radiant Typhoon monsters. Anyway, we'll get our draw here with the Mandate, and then I'll go ahead and go Vision for the 3rd MST. And we're just going to set everything. 3 MSTs, each of them can be a negate, of course, with Mandate. We've got Droplets, and we've got the Phonics effect. The opponent is on Exo-Sister, and I'm more than happy to let 7 Tachyon resolve, make him go -1. That doesn't bother me at all. Evenly matched in the battle phase, well, that's just going to eat my first MST. No big deal. Theoretically, if he had, I guess, packs, then I could be in trouble because you could have chained that to the MST. You can only use this Mandate negate, of course, if it's directly in response to an MST. Anyway, he's got Martha instead, no packs for me to worry about. I'm going to use Droplet here just because I want to resolve my Phonics. And like I said, I didn't really have anything to do with that Fuelos anyway. Now I can just pop the Mandate, negate, and I might as well get another draw while I'm at it. Yeah, I was saying there's Fuelos again. There's not really anything to do with it unless you just happen to draw the Forbidden Droplets. Like Exo-Sister, for example, they have the new trap card, or not the new trap, the new spell, I think it's called Betrayal, where they can discard a card. Nothing like that in Radiant Typhoon. Slight misplay here that I used the trap effect to reset itself instead of the Link monster. It would have still been face up then for the other MST to be live, but because he tried to activate Stella effect, I know the last card in hand is just a Exo-Sister, and he already used his Martha effect. So I don't really need to worry about having the last negate live, because there's nothing that I could possibly need to negate. And anyway, this is obviously Game over for him here. Plenty of damage. And there we go. Exo Sister down. Didn't need to use Fulos that time. But, you know, I did have the triple MST field there. Kind of crazy. Check out the next one here. Going second this time, but good lord, Maxi and Fulos, dude, just such a disgusting set of cards because of this interaction here exactly. It feels so dirty, man. So much for the Ash Blossom. Maxi resolves. And you guys are gonna love this. As soon as he, it's on Exo Sister again, and as soon as he summons his first card, look what I draw. The second Fulos. Why are these cards twice per turn, man? I don't get it. The Spirit Monster here is a normal summon, of course, so he doesn't give me draws off of that, but it would be kind of foolish for him to just pass on nothing but a bunch of sisters and hope that I trigger them. So he goes for the Michaelis. I think that it's probably smart to at least do one summon, like he could have just gone straight into Carmel, but he goes Michaelis Abraturnia instead, and then he's going to make Carmel. So I'm going to get some more draws. Carmel effect set, and then he'll banish my Maxi out of spite. And then he'll set the Vadis in the end phase. So he's got both traps, and he's got the Carmel effect. So he's going to shotgun the Vadis. Not a bad call. I'm going to activate Tenki here, and he'll Ash it, but that is not a very good play for him. Of course, I can chain the Droplet here, now I get another free material, but Tenki is just not a good card to be ashing. That'll negate his Carmael and the Martha as well. So all he has left is the Returnia, which he's just going to use immediately. Obviously, if I had any access to MST, I would have taken that out beforehand, but he sort of has to do it here, because I'm going to be getting an MST off of the Crocea. So, I'm going to summon out Magnifica. I'm going to just add Phonics, because I can summon him out pretty easy. He's going to chain to the Eldam, and I'm just going to go Sheena. So he could try to, like, do the little shimmy with Magnifica into a different Xyz, but it would just get bounced at that point. Instead, the Sheena will just get banished on resolution. And now that he has no cards, he can Perulia me, which is funny because Radiant Typhoon is actually pretty bad into Perulia. Most of the summoning does come from the hand. But it just doesn't matter here, unfortunately for him. I can pretty easily set up enough damage. I get the Megala summon from deck here, which actually does not tribute Perulia. All I'm really trying to do is summon as little as possible so as to avoid him drawing into a Nib. And he doesn't, so it's GG. I don't understand why some people will wait until I'm already in the process of lethal, and it's like, then you scoop. Like, why not just, at that point, let it happen and, you know, get your dailies done? Strange behavior. Anyway, moving on into the next duel. I'm going first this time, open Fulos again. But we've also got the Sheena. Like I said, this card is so crazy. This card overperformed so hard. I think a lot of people only play 2 copies. I definitely like 3. It's just such a ridiculous card, and, you know, I mean, you can't search it, so the only way to make it show up more often is to max out. Anyway, we'll go ahead and add the Eldam here, trigger our Phonics. Drop him down, Eldam effect, going to add the Megala, grab her, make our Varoon, get another MST, and I'm going to make the very sad play that you have to do sometime with this deck, which is MST the MST, so that I can get my trap card. It's not the end of the world, because it is going to trigger my Megala, and now I do have enough spells in the graveyard here to trigger the draw effect on the trap card. So we'll shuffle those back. The downside, of course, is that I don't have an MST in the grave anymore for the Varurune negate, but I did draw another one, very lucky. Anyway, the opponent's on some Cyber stuff. I let the Achichi resolve. Generally, of course, with Cybers, you just want to clear their field if possible, so I'm going to wait until he has 2 monsters so that I can take him out with the Phonics. He makes Lingaribo here, which is a trap negate, but it only negates trap cards, and this card is already face up, so I'm not activating a card, I'm activating the effect. So he can't respond to it here. I'm going to negate the backup. And then on resolution, I can just use Phonics to shuffle them both away. It's also going to trigger my Megala again, and this time I am going to correctly use the Maroon to replace the trap card face up. So there we go. Now he needs some kind of extender. Go ahead and get the Crocia off the Megala, because I already have the 2 big guys, might as well just get some advantage. He does have the ability to extend here. He's going to go Sign Up Mining, discard a Malice Trap, and then he's got Allure of Darkness to trigger the Dormouse, which is very good for him, but obviously I'm just going to Varune that. Definitely can't let Dormouse resolve. That would probably just win the game for him on the spot. He's got March Hare, though, and then he can use the trap to swap it out. Notice he does not use the effect of White Rabbit, though. He's already gone through both of his traps. Gonna add back his March Hare here, and the last card in hand is the field spell, but guess what? I can just bounce it with Sheena so that it doesn't resolve. Even in a game like this, somehow Sheena is the thing that seals the deal, man. This card is so ridiculous. It is so good. I really wish it was actually a part of the Radiant Typhoon archetype, man. This was my rank up match into Master here, the very last one. Obviously, I was hoping for a nice, easy one, but I lost the coin toss. And then I drew Fuelos anyway, so throw that down. We're going to learn what he's on, and it's another Exo Sister player. So Betrayal is pretty much the best starter, I think. Gets him Martha, gets rid of his own useless Fuelos. Not going to use the Martha effect, so as to avoid giving me draws, but then he activates Pax, and Pax is a quick play, so I'm going to get to use my Crocia here. So, of course, this will open it up to be vulnerable to Michaelis Banish, but it's definitely worthwhile to get the extra searches, get the +1. He's going to draw with his Sophia, he's got the Spirit as well, but he's out of relevant targets here. He's just going to get another Martha for follow-up. Board's full anyway, so here's Carmel. Draw Maxi. Now, I do actually choose to just hold the Maxi here. I know that he's going to be able to keep making some plays if he wants to, but I would actually rather save this to use on my turn, because Exo Sisters usually summon at least twice during the opponent's turn, right? He's going to make Magnifica, he's going to tag out with Magnifica, and that's assuming that he doesn't get any additional, like, freebie summons. He uses Michaelis to banish from my graveyard instead of banishing the Crocia so that he can trigger the XC summoning effect on Martha, but he just makes another Carmel. Not 100% sure why he did that. Anyway, I've got so many cards here. I'm just going to start out with MST to force the Returnia. I should have used the Max C here immediately, but I just didn't think that he was using the Returnia effect to summon. I figured he was going to banish the Crocia, which he maybe should have, hard to say. So I miss out on one draw there, but it's not super relevant that I don't have that one extra card here. I've already got all the cards that I need. So we're going to go Varurune. He is going to Carmel that, and that's totally fine. This was basically all I was trying to do. He doesn't have anything to trigger off of the add from grave, and if he had let the Varurune resolve, then I would have just been able to negate the Carmel effect, so pretty much forced his hand there, and now I can just start pushing my plays through. Obviously, he has the Magnifica, which he's going to use right now. This is where I'll chain the Max C. I might as well. He'll do the Banish as well at this point. No reason not to, but I obviously don't really care about the Eldam being on the board anymore. His effect has already resolved, or rather, it will resolve. So here's Michaelis. He gets another Banish off of her. And the Maxi draws me a Crocia. go for Chant, and again, I kind of force his hand here by putting the Megala down first. So he has to kind of get rid of her, or else, you know, he doesn't know that I have Phonics in my hand. I'd be able to summon the Phonics, I'd be able to summon out something else threatening, maybe another Crocia, get more searches, but he's out of interaction at this point. So I can add the Ascendance here with my Swen, and then I can just discard the Varun. Now MST can bring her back. We've got the Phonics in hand, obviously, and that is game. So there you go. That is how I ended up in Master Rank. The unfortunate thing about it is that now I'm going to be separated from my beloved Platinum rank for the entire next season as well, because they only bump you down by 1. I really wish that there was some way you... I don't know how they would implement it, but I wish there was some way you could go back to the fun zone. That's a big part of the reason why I hadn't ever bothered going to Master before, even though I was always sure that I could do it if I wanted to. And similarly, why I'm not ever going to bother grinding up to, like, Master 1. Just not worth the time in my eyes. Especially if you're trying to play off-meta or rogue stuff, like I mostly do. But, anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely, like I said, if you're mostly a casual player like myself, maybe try something more competitive every once in a while. If you're more of a competitive player, try something more casual. You might think that it's more fun than you would have thought, and it'll, if nothing else, help you better understand the game, the state of the meta, what it's like to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the current year, so on and so forth. But that's all I got for now, so I'll catch y'all later. Peace.